Today we'll be talking about something really important. I'm really surprised why people are not talking about it enough, even in the manifestation space. Hi Soul Fam, how are you? Nirvana here. Today we'll be talking about something really important. That important thing is silence, quiet, inactivity, passivity, space, nothingness, those kind of things, sort of the same thing experienced differently. My knowledge on the subject is of course rudimentary because there are people like Eckhart Tolle who talk about it in such beautiful manner and who have really advanced on this spiritual space of being present and silent. But yes, what I will be talking about today will be based on my experience and what I have learned from my own meditative experiences and understanding and studying and delving deep into the spiritual content online and reading books and scriptures and a lot of things. So, what kind of silence am I talking about from the noise outside? That's beautiful in its own way, but that's not what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about inner silence, silence from thoughts. I'm talking about that space of being, that mental state, that inner space where thoughts have, sort of become either really passive or really subtle or stopped altogether. um, Maybe for a few nanoseconds, for a few seconds, but that space is really powerful whenever we are creating something. And I'm not just talking about something like art, I'm talking about um, this life moment by moment as we are making it, manifesting it, knowingly, unknowingly, consciously, unconsciously. I'm talking about creating from that space of being. And of course, it's not at all easy, and I'm myself very much on the beginning phase of it. Um, but I have sort of started building a relationship with this silence and inner quietness, and that's what I try to achieve in my meditative practice as well. And I also do some grounding practices in the evening where I try to be completely silent and just, and as John Butler said, um, I love that guy. As he has said, feet on the ground, listen and look. I think that's a really good spiritual practice. That's an amazing spiritual practice to begin with. And by spiritual practice, I mean um, a practice of living more consciously and becoming a more conscious creator in manifesting your life, your dream life. So, what I've come to understand from my own experience, this is the space of being we sort of all are trying to achieve in one form or the other. Of course, in different phases of life, we might think that this is not something that we're striving for, and I have myself had those um, states. But as I'm maturing, my idea of what I really value is it's changing massively, and peace and silence non-negotiables for me. So why am I talking about silence, and why do I think it is really important to talk about for anybody who's trying to create his life consciously? So let's just start from the really beginning. So in the Hindu way of looking at things, it is understood before anything existed, anything came into manifest form, there was nothingness. But it was not an absence of anything, more like presence of nothingness, if that makes sense. But it makes sense to me. This abyss is also known as Shiva, the divine masculine, and then from it came an urge to know itself, and from that a self-reflecting mechanism started, and from that manifested a lot of things, and everything it kept disintegrating into more and more and more and more forms of things, different things. This energy was called Shakti, divine feminine, and because of their dance together, anything came into being. So that's how the Hindu way of looking at this goes. There's also one quote from Tao Te Ching: from one came two, from two came three, and from three came a million things. That also talks about something similar. There's also one quote from Tao Te Ching. So let me just read it for you. Shape clay into a pot, but it is the space within that makes it useful. We hammer wood for a house, but it is the inner space that makes it livable. We work with being, but non-being is what we use. Profound, very profound. This essentially means that to create anything or for anything to exist, first there needs to be a space where something can be held. If there is no space, nothing can be created, big or small. We talk about the manifestations, but we don't talk enough about the space of silence, letting space come in so that manifestations can occur from a really high vibe. That also talks about a similar concept. If you have ever heard about Abraham Hicks, and if you are watching a video about manifestation and law of attraction and inner work, then I'm sort of assuming that you would have heard about them. They were one of the main people who came forth with this concept of law of attraction as it is understood popularly now. And they also worked with Rhonda Byrne for The Secret, which really helped a lot of people in changing their life. And for me also, that was one of the books which changed sort of my life in a meaningful way. So you can check that out as well. So Abraham talks about how do you create your reality, and the first thing is that everything is energy, everything is vibration, and from that space a thought comes up, and then it gets into a more gross form, then it becomes into an emotion, and then into a belief system, and then it is reflected outside into your reality, in also your actions, behaviors and expectations, and also the outside reality and people and opportunities and those things. And that's how your reality is created. And we are talking about creating a reality consciously, so it is very important for us to understand what is this space of being from where thought is arising. So I had a really amazing experience myself some time back, and I think it would be really helpful for you to hear this. So I was meditating one day, and I got into sort of, I don't know what that state is called, but I just sort of went really deep into my meditation, and I was at a space where my body was sleeping sort of, and but I was aware, and my mind my conscious activity of the brain has also really reduced, but I was aware, because my intention while meditating is always to create this space of being, this to be with the silence that is between thoughts, the space of inactivity where no thoughts exist. That's the space that I'm striving for during my meditation. Thoughts started, spacing out. One thought came, then it went away, then there was some space of nothing on the projection screen of my I don't know, awareness. I don't know how to put it, but that's how I see it. And then I saw that the thought came in form of a wave, and it was just taking shape and was getting bigger and bigger. It came out of nothing. So a decision was made as this thought wave was just building up very subtly. I don't even know on what level, but I didn't want to engage with that thought. And as soon as that decision was made, this all happened like in, I don't know, this nanoseconds. This wave just sort of splashed into, it splashed into an ocean of, wherever it came from, sort of nothingness. And so from that I really understood, this is how you create your reality, from this space. And this is the space of being which is incredibly powerful, because you are completely in your body, completely aware and silent, and you're not focused narrowly on something, on a thought or something that takes your attention. You just spread out in the body, sort of, not just in the body, you feel like you're spread outside of the body as well. That's how I've experienced it. So all the good ideas, creativity, insights come from this space of being, this blank space. That's why people get a lot of good ideas while doing something where they are in a passive space. Yes. So I've also heard that Amazon CEO Jeff Bezos washes his own dishes, and the reason for that is because that's where he gets his best ideas. And I understand that, because his mind is in a space of calmness. He's not thinking very consciously. He's just sort of in a passive space of doing things, and then thoughts can come and go, and he's not indulging that much with the thoughts. And that's why in these spaces, as you retract your energy from the thinking mind, then you can receive guidance from your inner guidance mechanism. To connect to it, you need to create these spaces, these buffer zones, so to speak, these spaces of silence or passivity to begin with, and then you can go into deeper spaces of silence. Relaxing activities are also really helpful to get you into somewhat a space of just pulling back your awareness, and let things happen on their own, or not too much indulgence with what is happening or your thoughts. So that creates a really good space for you to really connect to your inner guidance mechanism, and that's when you can really hear what would be best for you, or get some insights on things that you haven't processed still. The connection is made once you're silent. That will really help you get more and more in touch with this space where thoughts sort of stop, even for some seconds, and then that can grow with continuous practice. And that's why it's really helpful to do your meditation also, or do something really that indulges your creativity, so your mind becomes quiet, and then you can really connect with your higher self, your best self. And I understand this. People who are creating amazing music, art, or maybe anything that that is out of the ordinary in a way, thinking of things in a different manner, all that comes from this space of silence, this space of inactivity, passivity of the brain, passivity from the thinking process. So you can receive for once, not be too aggressive and too much hands on into everything. Just receive and allow and just stand back for once. And it took me a fairly long time to understand that you don't need to be hands on every time, and most of the time it's the thing that stops you from uh, just being productive and also feeling good and feeling happy and satisfied in getting your best ideas and insights and clarity on things. Uh, this constant noise and this like constant mind chat, mad monkey throwing pieces all around it's just that, as Naval Ravikant talks about. So when I was growing up, and also the current culture is such that masculinity or masculine energy is rewarded, and even the women are trying really hard to be like men, which is sort of like abandoning all their gifts in a manner. And it took me the longest time to understand that I need to be more in my own feminine energy, my own energy that is passive, that can allow, that can relax, that can be joyous, and I don't have to be consuming and doing things all the time and being productive all the time. That's highly masculine, and it needs to stop. It has its time and place, of course, and it is really helpful sometimes, but not all the time. It will make you crazy if you keep indulging with this mind chatter of yours, and of course you'll get crazy dreams. So I would love to give you a practice that I do personally to see whether I'm in touch with my own guidance system or not, or I'm just indulged in the mental chatter. So I breathe and I try to listen for, as paradoxical as it may sound, the sound of silence, if it makes sense. Um, so it's something like that sort, but of course sort of different. It's not a sound that comes from outside, it's somewhere inside. I don't know how this works, but that's how I've experienced it, because you can hear it all the time. It's always there beneath the sounds, and even in the most loudest of places you can hear it, and it's always there inside you, with you. This silence is connected to that space of being present, and that is what I want to be all the time. And that helps really to create your dream life as well, and that's why I'm sharing this with you. So I'm sure you would have heard it too, when the power goes off all of a sudden and all the humming and buzzing of the appliances stop, then you can hear a loud in your ears, right? Maybe you can hear it. I don't know if it's in the ears, where you hear it from, I don't know. It's just somewhere in the body, it's just there. And it's my belief, I don't know for sure, but I think even people who cannot hear properly can hear this sound. I feel like it must be the primordial sound, the sound of Om, that underlies everything, the vibration of that thing. So to create more consciously and to create a reality that you would really love to experience, it would be a really helpful practice for you to multiple times throughout the day check in with your body to listen for this sound. And if you cannot listen to it, that just means that there's too much mental chatter and you cannot hear it because of all this noise. But as you keep practicing and you try to listen to it again and again, you will find that space, and as soon as you start hearing it, you will find yourself to be present in this moment, very much alive and very much in the body, grounded. And that is the space that we want to create from. That's just the most beautiful space to create from, as I've come to understand, because you're not too much indulged in what is going around you or in your head. So that's a good space to be. Also, this is helpful in getting your mind more and more quiet later on, because a muddy mind only creates shitty reality, so to speak. Things created from a space of overindulgence in your thought process and emotional process always lead to trouble and keep you in loops of repeated patterns and cycles of suffering. And we want to bring more and more conscious attention to our life and aspects of our being and things that we're doing all day, and the kind of thoughts that we're having, so we can clear out space for the things to come in. All the negative thoughts can go, and or transmute it into something positive. And most of the time we stay in the space of silence, and we can use the mind when we want to. That is the idea. But don't just take my word for all of these things. Test and try for yourself. And I would also suggest that you start meditating if you really want to create your conscious life. It's not just about visualizing and thinking about things and making vision boards. It's also very, very, very much about, once you have done those things, step back and just allow things to happen in their own time and in their own flowy manner. And that is how you would enjoy it max, not by constantly hovering over the manifestation and hovering over the entire process of creation. So just breathe, and give space to yourself and create space between you and your thoughts, so that guidance can come in, and that voice, the inner guidance, will guide you to even what you should want. So if you're anxious, you might want things out of just wanting something to make you feel safe, and that doesn't really work the best way. You might manifest something physically out of your belief that you want it, but if those kind of things manifest and they don't really make you happy, and so we want to even try to attract those things that are sort of in alignment with who we are, and that can only be done by getting in touch with who we are, and that is done by creating these spaces of silence where insights can come in, and where visions and ideas and creativity and all the joy can come in. Try to build connection with your inner silence. This will be really helpful. You can do this with meditation. You can, of course, do the practice that I've suggested and see for yourself where you're finding yourself, and give space in your day. At least keep some time in the day to not do things, not to indulge in your phone, not just be active in doing something. Just a passive space of being, or just sitting, or just looking at the birds, or just listening and looking, and feet on the ground, listen and look, as he says. That is a really helpful advice and really helps in connecting you to your inner guidance mechanism and your inner silence. So take care. Bye bye. Like and subscribe my video for more of such content.